Ben Wodecki, welcome to
Aaron, how are
Executive
you?
Talk. How are you, my brother?
I am very well. Thank you very much for having me. How are you, sir?
I am great. Thank you so much. It's so good for you to. It's so good to see you again. We met like I don't know 2 years ago. Was it already? Um, and
Yeah.
you were, I believe when we met, you had super short hair and you were wearing a crazy bright blue three-piece suit with what color were your shoes? Purple, yellow, green? I don't
my no,
remember.
my shoe. No, they were the famous black shiny shoes. They come with me to every conference. They still fit. They've been through the wars, but they're still available. They're still going.
Yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. How's the
I feel like
Corona? You what?
I feel a lot different now. I was going to say I really need that haircut to go back. That length of hair is just something
I don't know. I think it looks good on you. I think it's
I'm desperate. Thank you. That means coming from you, that means a lot. So
How are
to answer your question, um, Corona's been okay.
yeah,
It's been okay. I don't. It's different. Everyone's in the same boat. I'm not the only one, so it's great. I'm just
right.
carrying on from home and
You're
and and
you're
keeping
based
going. How about
in
yourself? How are you finding things?
London, right? You're based in London?
Yes. So
Okay.
my team we're in obviously in Central, and I'm living just outside of London on the Kent border. So basically everywhere in this small town is what would have been commuters. So everyone's just kind of locked in their homes. So it's everyone's in the same situation near where I'm from.
Got it. So are people taking this seriously? What's the vibe over there that's going on?
So from my perspective, I'm being sensible, and all of the people I know and speak to are sensible. I can't speak for the rest of the place.
I
There
can
are a
put a
lot of
mask on if
problems.
you want. Is this helpful?
I don't somehow I don't think that's the virus we'll be getting from this conversation. Maybe another link for a computer virus. But
Yeah.
I feel there are a lot of people not being sensible in the UK. Photos from definitely look up Bournemouth beachfront the other last week. I think it was horrendous.
Really?
Honestly, there are some real issues, and I don't think we're out of the wars yet. We're easing things here, as I know you guys are easing stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just going to be coming back sometime soon. Well, are you
I
in Israel right now, or are you?
I
Oh,
am actually in
I
Israel
don't know what
right
happened
now.
there. Are you in
Uh,
Israel at the moment?
I am in Israel right now at the
Okay.
moment, and I don't seem to be going anywhere anytime fast. The travel right now is slowed down. There are very few flights coming in. There are very few flights coming out. Israel has been taking some major precautions in lockdown type um, activities in order to help keep this spread down. And they've been doing a really good job
Mhm.
here, all in all. And like the numbers have been like dropping. The corona wards in the hospitals have been clearing out. And then, over the past few weeks, there's been a new resurgence, I guess, as people started thinking that, oh, this thing is over, it's going to pass. Let's just get back to life. And then before you know it, you have people who are getting sick again. So we're all being careful. We're doing our best to stay safe and practice social distancing. And we're just, hopefully this thing will pass soon and we'll get to go on and continue all the things that we're part of. But one of the things that, I took advantage of during this time was I was like, you know what? I want to talk to my friend Ben. I want to get online. I want to start making videos, and so this this project has been, so it's been great to start this whole executive talk podcast, in order to, to bring people together who are business like entrepreneurs, people who are involved with a whole variety of business type things, and get a chance to learn from each other and share with one another, and kind of really get a chance to just talk and see
Mhm.
and see what's going on. So
Yeah, it sounds. I heard your conversation with Rachel Miller, Kerry
yeah,
Miller. Sorry, terrible
Carrie,
names,
yeah,
as you know,
uh-huh.
and Kerry. I can't even get my own name right sometimes. But it seems like a sensible decision. I mean, at the moment we're all locked away, and we're all apart. So the only way we can kind of come back together is through things like this. And I think what you yourself has set up is perfect. It's wonderful.
Well, it's all about the microphone, and so I seem to be doing fine with that, so I'm okay.
Excellent. I got mine hidden away, so it's there. It's good. That's the main thing. I think microphone sales companies must have seen an absolute profit over the last few weeks.
Probably. Ben, so tell me a little bit about uh, yourself. You work in PR. You currently work for uh, um, I'm blanking on the names. Um, you used to work for IP Pro. That much I know, and then now you work for.
Yeah, so I'm a journalist at Intellectual
Got
Property,
it. Okay, cool.
IP
So, what do you guys
magazine.
focus on? What do you do? Like, what's your area of expertise?
Yeah, so we are an intellectual property product that I spend my entire day going through court documents, trademark filings, patent filings,
Sounds so exciting.
all sorts. It sounds dull. No, it sounds dull, but I don't think there's been a role or that I'm aware of where you can write about 1 minute. Like take my last Thursday for example. 1 minute I'm writing about the shape of water. The next minute I'm writing about transgenic mice and protect innovations relating to that. It's such a
Yeah.
diverse area of industry and innovation that there's so many topics and kind of writing about that is a breath of fresh air because 1 minute you're done with the story, I'm fine, I'm done, and the next minute you've got something completely different that's held
Well,
together by like this loose concept of protection. It's a really interesting world, and I'm a company called Informer that owns the product, which is one of the largest events and publishing companies in the world.
yeah.
They've got offices all over the world. They run like the Monaco Boat Show and all sorts of really sizable events and publications. Lloyd's List, for example, the biggest shipping and maritime product out there. But it's to have all these different products together, and yet we all feel we can work with one another and kind of cooperate and get on. It's absolutely crazy. So
I
yeah, I'm enjoying it.
That's awesome. I love IP. Just the concept of it. There's so much innovation that's going on in this world, and one of the things that I actually really appreciate working in marketing is that I get to talk to and learn from so many innovators and entrepreneurs who are bringing so many amazing ideas to life, that impact us on a regular day. And this whole world of IP, in my mind, is super exciting and super interesting. And there's so much that we can learn from and take away from in order to be able to apply it, both practically but also conceptually in so many different ways. So I think I love what you do.
Mhm. Thank you, Aaron. I want to ask you because obviously you and I have worked in the same industry.
Yeah.
How have you found kind of writing and kind of coming up with content in such a really niche industry that I'm, I'm sure like myself, you've got to handle stuff. How have you kind of like
So
got
it it really
your
depends on.
content?
Right. So it really depends on how you position yourself and who you're talking to. One of the main components of marketing, no matter what industry, putting IP aside for a second, but it doesn't, no matter what industry you're talking to, what matters is who are the people that you care to read what you're writing about. So in IP, some of the challenges that I worked with. Now again, I worked for an IP company for a couple of years as their director of marketing. Um, and the challenges that you face are, so you could either write about cool updates and technology innovations and new things that are going on. And that's definitely one approach to have. And then the challenge though is that you're just another voice in this big world of everyone who's just writing about the same updates. Apple's new phone that they're coming out. IBM's new technology, Samsung's new this, Facebook's that, and like there's so many things that you're talking about, and so the challenge was, how do you find something that resonates to the general public as well as to the people who actually handle IP, right? Now,
Mhm.
you can't pretend to be an IP attorney, because I'm not, and I'm going to sound foolish trying to pretend like, yes, and the latest law update is telling us that IP's restrictions, and they're going to laugh in my face because they're like, who are you?
That,
Like
that is my.
that's
You've
not
been to
right.
events. You know exactly how I feel. I'm like, I feel like a sheep in a herd of cows. It's
Yeah,
it's so difficult to kind of to make your voice kind of feel necessary at times, but
yeah.
also that you value, and the information you're providing is of value to those
Yeah.
professionals.
So what I love most, especially about in the world of IP, is, yes, one approach is to accumulate all the information that's going on and then just become another source provider of info. That's definitely one way to do it. And I know many businesses who run their LinkedIn business pages like that, where they just grab a whole bunch of content from all over the place, and they put they keep it in one spot, and they become a source of info, whether it's theirs or not, just to stay relevant. But the part that I found specifically for IP, and this is true with any industry, is that there's there's the thing that you're talking about, the newest technology, AI, AR, whatever's the actual thing that's coming along. And then there's the piece that I find that people really want to know about, that resonates with people, is how does it impact me, and what's just like underneath the layer of like what this product is, right? A whole new AR system that allows you to, the military to, map out battlefields. Okay, that's great. But now take it down one notch. What does it mean to apply a technology like that to something so significant, right? I work for I work
Mm.
for sorry, I have a client who is in the AR industry, augmented reality, and they
Mhm.
create technology that they provide to firefighters, fighter pilots, military, doctors, okay, as an example. And one of the things that they do is firefighters apply this technology to map out smoke filled buildings when going in for a rescue, how to identify where people exist and how to maneuver through the building that they are not able to see in. Now, if I was just an IP updater, I would talk about this, firefighters using this technology, and it's amazing because they're changing the face of what fire safety could be. But the underlying theme there, which I think resonates, is how does that impact not only that circumstance where the firefighters are able to save more lives, but practically how could that adapt to a greater audience, of a greater appreciation and practicality for us, that we could learn what's happening and pay attention to that. And I think that when talking about IP, it's not so much about the general update, but it's being able to rub away at the surface and to talk about a little bit more of the application and appreciation for what that has. And when you're able to pinpoint your voice into, into that aspect of it, then you're going to get people listening to what you have to say left and right, because you're offering them something which is valuable that they're not getting from normal mainstream media. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, of course. It's something that is difficult to kind of come into as well, when you've got to try and work out that angle through content, like going through a document, a filing document, an application for a patent, or whatever. You've got to work out, okay, you've got to understand the actual piece of paper in front of you, or the court case in front of you, but then you've got to kind of disseminate that information. And 9 times out of 10, that's what takes the longest in terms of writing the content in the specific industry that you and I have worked in.
Right.
So, for example, taking a Supreme Court case in the US, which is like kind of a certain love of mine. I love SCOTUS cases, but then reading, okay, this is the decision, but then hang on a minute, what's it going to mean for, an attorney here, or a trademark licensee? It's like you say, it's finding what is relevant to them rather than just regurgitating the content and saying this happened, this happened, this happened.
Yeah, 100%. Look, like, I'll give you a great example. Recently, there was a case brought to the Supreme Court. There was a trademark, right, that wanted to apply for a trademark. There was a brand who wanted to apply for a trademark, and the brand's name was FUCT. Right?
Yes, Brunetti. Yeah, love that case.
Correct. Right. And basically, and they applied for their trademark. Their trademark got rejected, and they appealed to the Supreme Court. And they said, this is not, this is not right, not fair. And ultimately, the Supreme Court said, okay, you can have your trademark. But the implication of what this, of what this story represents is, there is a very fine line there of vulgar that, that they're trying to push the boundaries. And if this line is going to get crossed here, what does that mean as far as future lines that are going to get crossed as we continue to push that boundary again and again? And how is that going to impact our society, our culture, and really like the values that our kids are going to be exposed to? Because when you have when you have that trademark shirt selling in every single store down the street, right? That's not necessarily, look, I'm happy to curse with the rest of them. I don't, that's fine. But like,
I'd happily own that T-shirt.
But there's a certain I would buy 5 of those T-shirts. But there's a certain boundary that you need to create. And so when, so for me, it's really, it's what is the underlying story that, that plays into practice here, that's going to be on everyone's minds once it becomes public, and that stuff. And so I think, that's where I believe the true value comes in, and not just for IP specifically, but really for all industries that are niche in that regard, medical, accounting, law, whatever happens to be, high tech, etc.
Oh, there's some fun ones. I think my favorite one I've come across was International Battery Monthly or Weekly or something. There's some real niche areas, but there's an audience for it.
Yeah, there's
and
you and I are
you and I are in a niche audience of people talking about storytelling and brand management and all sorts.
Yep.
So like you said, there's something for everyone.
That's right.
You and I have traveled a lot.
Yes.
Oh no, you go ahead. No, I was going to say about traveling because.
Go, you first.
Thank you, Aaron. You're a gentleman. I'm so sorry. Obviously, you and I met in Seattle 2 years ago, or last year.
Boston.
Yeah, Boston. See, even I don't know. And obviously, you came to London. Yeah. We had a great time in a proper English pub. How do you say how? Which was quite an entertaining evening. How
that could be a story for time, but it's okay.
Exactly. How have you find like traveling and obviously moving about from place to place impacting kind of the work that you've been doing?
I love travel primarily for the sake of getting to learn and explore people and cultures that I'm not exposed to on a regular basis. I love being able to get to a place and just walk the streets and see the buildings and hear people talk. And also because the more that you learn, the more that you could apply to my own life. Like I have, I work with clients all around the world. I speak all around the world. I meet with people all around the world. And some of the there look, I do not pretend to be an expert and proficient in in culture and understanding people and societies, but I know enough. I have enough human intelligence to know how to interact with people, what appropriate things to say versus not say. And these are things that you learn and that you could apply to your every day. Putting that aside, though, I love it because it also opens me up to a whole new world of being able to apply my knowledge to help people that I work with. And so I love it. I love getting to see other places. I love getting to meet other people, talk to people from all around the world, and being able to share that back and forth with anyone who wants to pay attention.
Sadly, it was me.
This time it was you. I'm sorry, man. You're stuck with me this time.
Hey, I haven't left you yet, so it's all good.
There we go. I have a question for you. You were talking about storytelling. Now that's what you do. I mean, you work in PR. PR is essentially you are a professional storyteller. Because it's important for you when you're creating content that you engage with your readers in a way that inspires them and that engages them to want to know what's happening and be able to carry that on, or else you would be out of the job, right? If you didn't have an active audience.
Yes,
what would
very
you
much.
say? what would you say are the key components to a good storyteller? Or
I would
sorry,
say
to telling a good story.
okay. I would say the audience is your lifeblood. You've got to not just understand them, but understand what they want to read. It helps if you talk to them. But if you can't, if you're in a situation where you can't, I'd say if you've got a piece of content in front of you, you have to be the gatekeeper. I can't remember the philosopher or psychologist that said that invented the term gatekeeping, but essentially you are opening and closing information to an audience which that would potentially could impact them. So for my industry, if I choose not to cover a case for whatever reason, that's my decision that I would make, because I'd say this would or wouldn't impact my audience for whatever reason. I don't think it's relevant to them. And because there are so many other titles, they can say, okay, we're going to do this. But for me personally, I'd say actually taking the time to learn what your audience needs and what they want to understand from a certain piece of content. That is key. You can't tell a story to somebody, or you can't write a piece of content without understanding the kind of basis of what they want to hear, because otherwise they're just going to go somewhere else, and they're going to go
how do you
anywhere
pull
apart
that
from what
out?
you're doing. I think,
In other words, how do you pull that out of understanding what they want to hear? Like, how do you is there a step process? Is there a thought process that you go through?
yeah. So as someone who came into an industry where I have absolutely no idea, or had, probably still don't, any idea what I'm talking about, I made a point of contacting professionals in my industry who I've never met before, and kind of we met for coffee. We kind of just went out and about and had drinks, whatever, just kind of understanding their area of expertise, kind of questioning them and saying like, okay, what is it you normally read, and like, what do you want? Because a lot of people are moving digital now, so it becomes increasingly difficult to tell content in a digital format, in an audio only format, in a video call format like you and I are doing right now, and understanding their needs just simply through talking to them, rather than saying this is our product, how to consume it, because the old adage of build it and they will come, I don't think applies to storytelling. I think you've got to have somebody who knows that you've got to know what they want in order for them to come to what you've built.
Right.
I think that's probably my main point.
Interesting. And you have to know how to present it in a way that makes them interested to want to learn more about it.
Yeah, of course. I think presentability in terms of writing is half the battle. You've got to understand what to put where, and even I'd say a life or death situation in writing is akin to moving one piece of information further or higher, further or lower down in a piece. I
Right.
spend most of my day arguing where I should put one line, for goodness sake. But that's how the importance of it. That's where it comes in.
Right.
How, from the marketing side of things, how do you kind of deal with telling stories? Because obviously you're telling a brand story, or you're telling an entity story.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
from journalists who differs. I just want to see how you do that.
So a smart brand will know that the success of their brand is about how well they can tell their story. And their story is
Mhm.
not like, oh, how we got started. Their story applies to really the mission of what they're looking to do and what they're trying to accomplish, right? And you have to be able to formulate that clearly, because you have a lot of people who go into business because it's a good business idea, right? And they're like, yes, I can sell a lot of this thing, and so I'm going into business. Okay, that's fine. Do that, be successful. That's great. A smart brand will know and understand that their brand goes way beyond their product, and how they deliver that product and everything that's associated with their brand is part of how they tell their story. And so, what I do, someone once coined me the brand psychologist, because what I do is when I sit down with a brand to learn about them, I just start asking a lot of questions, and I get them to talk, and I pay attention, and I listen, and I want them to tell me again and again and again what they're about, why they're working, who they want to be impacting, why they want to impact those people, right? And really get a real sense of what they're doing and why they're doing it. And that's the big part here. Why?
Mhm.
And then the challenge is really to take that info and to present it into a way that their audience cares, right? Because it's not just about getting people to buy your product. Okay, I mean, obviously it depends on what the products that you're looking to sell and whatever. So I'm not talking about like a plastic cup company
Yeah.
for example, right? But a smart brand will know how to take all the pieces of what they're involved with, right? Everything from their mission statement to their staff to their service to their products, and to present it in a way that gets people to say, you know what? That's the company that I want to work with. That's the company I want to buy from. That's the company that I want to see stocked on my shelves or playing in my, in my technologies. Those are the companies that will really push the boundaries of what success is all about, because they care, right? They may not tell you this out loud, but a smart brand knows that successful branding incorporates believing and investing in their audiences. And that's like a funny
Mhm.
thing to actually think about, right? That a brand cares to invest in their audience, but
Of
the
course.
same, but like without them, you don't have a product. If people are not buying from you, they're not, you don't have a business. And so from your first interaction, from an email they get or a phone call with you, or a customer rep, or online on your website, whatever happens to be, that's all part of your brand, and that all has to be connected to being able to tell your story in the way that makes sense for the people who want to listen and engage with it.
Especially that's a really interesting point, considering the social revolutions and changes changes we will find ourselves in. I mean, CSR, corporate social responsibility, is probably, apart from surviving the viral pandemic, is probably the highest thing on the list for most
Right.
brands and for most businesses, and kind of confining and altering and changing perceptions because of those changes. You know, you've got to keep your brand, as you say. You can't just you can't just tell the story. You have to conform and
Yeah.
say this is right. If you can't just do it to tick a box.
Yeah, 100%. And like when you're building a strategy, one of the things that we suggest is that, like, for example, you have many companies who say, so, okay, so I'll just run some Facebook ads and I'll do lead generation out of those Facebook ads. And that's great. And the comment is, look, any Joe Schmo could run Facebook ads. How does running Facebook ads tell the customer that you're trustworthy, that you're honest, that you're reputable, that you'll deliver on what you're representing? Being Running ads is one component of what your strategy talks about, right? How are you complementing those ads in order to help make sure that you're reinforcing that message of trustworthiness and quality and value to your potential buyers? Whether you're looking to engage with 1,000 people or 100,000 people or 100 million people, it doesn't make a difference, right? There's got to be a certain level of trust that people are willing, especially now, right? Especially at a time when businesses are slower, people are out of the job, but yet commerce still has to go on. People still need to buy things. And so, and people still need your services, depending on what you might provide. And so the bigger question always comes down to is, how are you telling your audience that you provide value, that you provide honesty, that you provide all the things that they need in order for them to feel confident that they're going to pay for your service or product at this time? And so, just doing that one thing, like that one ad campaign, that's not going to be your success breaker, right? Yeah, you might get clicks, you might get some leads out of it, but when you really evaluate the quality of leads that come through without any additional reinforcement of what your brand's about and what your brand will do for you, those leads might look good on paper, because look at us, we got 100,000 leads coming through, but at the end of the day, and you only maybe sold one or two of your product, that's a clear representation of something is not working well. And so telling that story on whatever medium you're confident with, in whatever way you want to represent, and however you want to articulate it in a way that makes sense, that's how you're going to bring everyone in. That's how brands, businesses, and even stories need to be presented in order to get people to say, okay, let me continue going on. There's so much noise that if you don't appreciate your own value and the value of your customers, you're just going to be another guy standing on a box shouting on the street.
Couldn't agree more, especially as we go on. When the pandemic eventually does end, businesses will increase. There's probably the largest number of entities ever in the world, even though there's massive corporations and conglomerates. And it's the same with media products and television, films. The more there is, you have to have a message that resonates with, otherwise it's just going to blur, like you say, that standing on a box analogy,
Yeah.
you're
And
just
don't
going to
get
be
me
left up to
wrong.
dry.
And don't get me wrong, this is an amazing time to explore and experiment on social
Of course.
channels, on all kinds of digital media, online, offline, whatever. This is the time to do it. But what I would encourage you to do is, don't just be another guy shouting on the street corner. Really put effort and thought into what your value is that you're providing, and what is the value on the flip side. Because a lot of businesses think that their customers are stupid. But they're not. Customers are smart, and they think, and they talk. And if you do not appreciate their contribution to your business or brand, then you're not going to get them on board, and you're just going to sink and not get to the places that you want to get to.
That's couldn't agree more. It's difficult at the moment as well, and kind of working out taking the time to work out what actually is and isn't relevant to do. I mean, what you and I are discussing now is important, but then another brand might think that their podcast is, and there's so many different things, and I think it's kind of a bit overwhelming at times. I mean, when no businesses are slowing down in terms of output, and yet there's still so much going on. I likened it to myself that we've just moved out of a building. I generally don't see my workload decreasing. It's kind of just like the world around me is crumbling, and I'm just carrying on. I don't know about yourself, but it's it's crazy how things can maintain in terms of producing content, writing, and telling a story.
Yeah.
While other people's stories are ending and sadly and falling apart.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I totally agree with that. And more as people try to take the field, what I would recommend to them is don't just talk for the sake of talking. Think about what you're doing. What is the value that you want to bring, and what is the value that people can receive from you, and how are you doing it in a way that's true to you? You know what I mean? And so, and if you're able to do that, and you find your voice, and don't kid yourself, it's not so easy to find your voice. Some people are like, yeah, I'll just, oh, look at me. Why wouldn't anyone want to listen to what I have to say? Because you're boring. That's why. Like, you don't talk about
if they want to be heard that much, they can stand in a room by themselves. That's what my mum used to say.
And so if you're, anyone could make noise, anyone can, but when you put mindfulness into what's going on, and you're really able to find that voice and hone in on the pieces that that are meaningful and full of value, people will pay attention to that value, and they'll want to hear it again and again.
I think one thing, Aaron, that you and I kind of try and embody in our work is passion. Now, if you told me when I was leaving university training as a writer that I'd be writing about innovation and branding and changes in technologies, I'd be like, okay, no, I wanted to write about football or soccer. I wanted to write about politics, and now I found myself, fresh every day, wanting to have a passion, I have a passion now to write about what I do write about, and I know that you are an extremely passionate guy, no matter whatever it is you're doing. Like, I think the importance of passion can't be understated, and if you're not telling a story you're passionate about, I think you really need to reevaluate the actual story you're telling, and kind of flip it and say, okay, if I'm passionate about this, I'm going to be more inclined to work on it, to write about it, to create content about it. And I think that really helps. It helps because you're in a working environment where, yes, you have to turn up every single day to make money, to survive. And if you're writing about something that you're passionate about, you're going to want to keep coming back regardless of hours, regardless of what you've got to do. I think that's passion is probably one of the key things.
I have a philosophy that I live by, and I made signs of it and I put it up everywhere, is if you're going to speak with passion. In other words, not everyone needs to get to the podium and talk. But if you're going to speak with passion. Because when you do, you not only inspire yourself, but you bring to life all the possibilities for anyone who's listening to you to join in on what it is that you want to be, that you want to be sharing at that moment. So I totally agree. I can't help it. I'm a passionate guy. I like, like I put myself into my work, but I think that it's that passion that I'm able to celebrate success, and I'm able to celebrate mindfulness, and I'm able to celebrate hardship with people in order to be able to to learn and to then apply, whatever you need to apply to help your people that you're working with be successful. And people are attracted to that. And I'm a big believer of that. And I hope that you and I and anyone who might be listening to us talking here, is able to internalize that as well and be like, yeah, you know what? Passion's cool. Let's do it.
I feel that it's not just something you told me to do over a beer and a London pint last year. It's something that I try and embody, because at the end of the day, you're not going to get anything done if you don't have love for your work. You can't be a Monday. You got to be a happy Monday person, or Tuesday, or whenever it is you're starting the week.
Yeah.
I was just conscious my microphone fell down during all that, so I didn't want that to take it away from it. Yeah.
All right, awesome, Ben. I really appreciate you taking the time to come speak with me here. It is always a pleasure to catch up and to chat and just to learn from you about what's going on, and how you're constantly innovating and putting effort into all the things that you do, into your work and your writing. Ever since we met, I've been following your stuff, and I continue to read it, and I look forward to continuing to read it as you continue to to put all that stuff out there. And
that means a lot. We IPM are launching a podcast, so you can listen to me in your ear holes for as long as you want, rather than having to read. But you'll probably get sick of it, I must admit. But yeah, it honestly, Aaron, when you messaged me about this, and I was like, okay, great. I haven't seen Aaron in over a year. I guarantee you he's still the same exact guy, still full of life. The world is falling apart around us. Nothing has changed, and that is the way it should be. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Aaron.
Likewise, I look forward to sharing a beer or a pint, however you call it.
I'm not drinking anymore, so we'll have a pint of. I'll have a non-alcoholic pint.
We'll have tea and ale.
I did promise to come over to Israel, so when this is over, I should be on that first plane.
Let's do it. I'll save you a seat.
All the best. See you soon.
Pleasure talking to you, Ben.